The massive space station hung in the void like a metal city. Ships from hundreds of worlds docked at its ports. Inside the Great Hall, alien leaders sat in growing panic. The emergency meeting had been going on for hours, but no one had answers. Ambassador Tae-min sat quietly in the human section. His dark suit looked simple compared to the bright robes and armor worn by other species. He watched the chaos with calm eyes. Around him, creatures with scales, fur, and metal bodies argued in dozens of languages. 17 more star systems destroyed, shouted Chancellor Vextar. The tall reptilian leader's voice echoed through the hall. His yellow eyes burned with fear and anger. The Reapers move faster than our fleets. Our weapons do nothing to them. Admiral Yuki, the Japanese human military officer, stood up. Her uniform was crisp and clean. Our combined forces have lost 60% of their ships. The enemy machines adapt to every weapon we use. They learn from each battle. Dr. Sora, a Korean scientist, looked at her datapad. The numbers were terrible. The Reapers appeared from empty space 3 months ago. They destroy everything they find. Planets, ships, space stations, nothing stops them. The alien leaders grew more upset. Some banged their fists on tables. Others made strange noises that meant fear in their languages. A few started to leave the meeting. "Where did these machines come from?" asked General Korth, a being made of living stone. His voice sounded like grinding rocks. "They are ancient," Dr. Sora replied. "Our scans show they are over 1 million years old. Someone built them long ago and set them to sleep. Now they are awake and following their old orders." "What orders?" Tae-min asked. He spoke for the first time in hours. "To clean the galaxy," Dr. Sora said. Her voice was quiet. "To remove all life that has grown too advanced. We think they have done this before." Many times, the hall went silent. The idea was too big and scary to understand. Ancient machines that woke up every few thousand years to kill all smart life in the galaxy. It explained why there were so few very old civilizations. "Our ancestors faced these things," whispered Princess Zelma of the Crystal People. Her body was like living diamond, but it shook with fear. "The old stories speak of the dark time, when the Star Killers came from the void." Chancellor Vextar slammed his clawed hand on his table. "Stories will not help us now. We need weapons. We need a way to fight these things." Admiral Yuki brought up a hologram. It showed the last battle. Reaper ships looked like black daggers covered in blue lights. They moved through space like living things. When fleet weapons hit them, the energy just bounced off. "Standard plasma cannons do no damage," she said. "Quantum torpedoes explode but leave no marks. Even our newest gravity weapons fail. The Reapers seem to exist outside normal physics." "What about the Titan fleets?" asked Commander Zen of the Void Walkers. His people were known for their powerful ships. "Gone," Admiral Yuki said simply. All 12 Titan ships were destroyed in the Vega system. The Reapers cut through their shields like they were not there. More aliens started to panic. Some cried in their own ways. Others began planning to run to the edge of the galaxy. A few talked about surrender even though the Reapers had never tried to talk to anyone. "There must be something," Chancellor Vextar roared. "Some weapon we have not tried." All eyes turned to the human section. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. They were the youngest spacefaring race, but they had won wars that should have been impossible. They found ways to beat enemies much stronger than them. "Well, humans?" Princess Zelma asked. "You always have tricks. What do you suggest?" Tae-min stood up slowly. He looked around the room at all the scared faces. Beings who ruled star empires were asking humans for help. It was strange how things changed. "Our regular military has tried," he said. "The Earth Defense Force fought the Reapers at Proxima Station. We lost half our fleet. Then you have nothing new to offer?" General Korth asked. His stone face could not show emotion, but his voice sounded defeated. Dr. Sora leaned forward. She had worked with humans before. She knew they were hiding something. "Ambassador Tae-min, your people always surprise us. Surely you have some new idea?" Tae-min was quiet for a long moment. He looked at Admiral Yuki. She gave him a small nod. They had talked about this moment before. "The Reapers are not like any enemy we have faced," he said. "They require a response that goes beyond normal warfare." "What does that mean?" Chancellor Vextar demanded. "It means," Tae-min said slowly, "that you have seen our soldiers. You have not seen our warriors." The room went very quiet. Even the translation computers seemed to pause. There was something in the human's voice that made everyone listen. "What is the difference?" asked Princess Zelma. Tae-min smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Soldiers fight with weapons and ships. Warriors fight with things that should not be possible. Admiral Yuki activated her personal communicator. This is Admiral Yuki to Earth Command. Authorization 7. Heaven's Gate protocols are now active. The alien leaders looked confused. They had never heard of Heaven's Gate protocols. In all their dealings with humans, this was new. How long will this take? Dr. Sora asked. She was curious and scared at the same time. They are already on their way, Taman said. Some have been waiting for this order for many years. Waiting where? General Korth wanted to know. In places that do not exist on any map, Taman replied. Doing things that most people would not believe. Chancellor Vextar was getting angry. Stop speaking in riddles. The galaxy is dying. What are these warriors you talk about? Taman looked directly at him. Have you ever wondered why humans are so good at impossible things? Why we win fights we should lose? Luck, said Commander Zen. Human luck is famous. Not luck, Admiral Yuki said. Preparation. We have been getting ready for something like this for a very long time. Getting ready how? Dr. Sora asked. By becoming something more than human, Taemin said. While we sent normal soldiers to space, our best people worked on other projects. Secret projects, the aliens exchanged worried looks. Humans with secrets were dangerous enough. Humans with secret warriors could change everything. These warriors, Princess Zelma said carefully. Are they still human? That depends on how you define human, Taemin replied. They have human hearts and human minds. But their bodies and abilities, those are different. A new alarm began to sound. The space station's sensors had detected something. On the main screen, a fleet of Reaper ships appeared. They were heading straight for the station. Evacuate! Someone shouted. All ships prepare for emergency jump. But Taemin did not move. Neither did Admiral Yuki or Dr. Sora. They looked calm, almost relaxed. Are you not worried? Chancellor Vextar demanded. No, Taemin said. Because our warriors are already here. The aliens looked at the screen. Space around the station looked empty except for the approaching Reapers. There were no human ships visible. I see nothing, General Korth said. Look closer, Admiral Yuki suggested. Then, as if reality itself was breaking, small shapes began to appear near the Reaper fleet. They seemed to step out of empty space. The shapes were too small to be ships, but they moved with purpose toward the massive enemy vessels. What are those? Dr. Sora whispered. Our warriors, Taemin said simply. And the Reapers are about to learn why the galaxy fears humanity. On the screen, the impossible was about to begin. Deep under the mountains of Korea, lights began to turn on. The facility had been dark for 3 years. Now machines hummed to life in corridors that did not appear on any government map. The air smelled of metal and electricity. Commander Jin Woo walked through the underground halls. His boots made no sound on the special floor. Behind him, other figures moved like shadows. They wore black uniforms with no markings. Their faces were calm, but their eyes held something strange. Something that looked almost like light. Status report, Jin Woo said to the air. His voice was quiet but clear. All Shadow Battalion units are active. A woman's voice replied from speakers built into the walls. Facilities in 12 countries are online. 2,000 warriors are ready. Lieutenant He Jin appeared beside him. She did not walk up or come through a door. One moment the hallway was empty, the next moment she was there. This was normal for people like them. The Reapers are moving faster than expected, she said. They hit the Centauri colonies 6 hours ago. 50 million people are dead. Jinwoo nodded. He had felt the deaths across space. All enhanced warriors could feel when many people died at once. It was part of what made them different from regular humans. Have you told the others? He asked. Master Sergeant Dong-hyun is briefing Team 7 now. Captain Nari is preparing the transport ships. Everyone knows what is at stake. They walked deeper into the facility. The walls were covered with metal that seemed to move and change. Sometimes the metal looked solid. Other times it appeared to flow like water. This was quantum steel, a material that existed in several dimensions at once. In the central chamber, dozens of warriors stood in perfect rows. They looked human, but something was different about them. They stood too still. Their eyes reflected light in ways that normal eyes did not. When they breathed, small sparks of energy moved under their skin. Master Sergeant Dong-hyun faced the group. He was older than the others, with gray hair and scars on his hands. He had been in the program longer than anyone else. You all know why we are here, he said. The galaxy faces something that normal weapons cannot stop. Regular soldiers have tried and failed. Now it is our turn. A young warrior raised her hand. Her name was Yunji, and she had joined the program only 2 years ago. Sir, what makes us different? How can we succeed where entire fleets have failed? Donghyun smiled. Because we have given up being limited by what is supposed to be possible. Watch. He held out his hand. The air above his palm began to glow. Light gathered into a small ball that pulsed with its own heartbeat. The ball grew brighter until it hurt to look at. This is thought made real, he said. We have learned to make our minds change the world around us. Physics bends when we need it to bend. The warriors watched in silence. They had all learned to do similar things, but it still amazed them. Humans were not supposed to be able to create energy from nothing. They were not supposed to be able to touch quantum fields with their bare thoughts. The enemy machines are very old and very smart, Donghyun continued, but they were built by beings who thought in normal ways. They do not understand what we have become. Captain Nari entered the chamber. She moved with a strange grace as if gravity affected her differently than other people. Her uniform had silver threads woven through it that gleamed with inner light. Transport ships are ready, she announced. The new vessels are invisible to all known sensors. We can approach the enemy without being detected. Jinwoo looked at his people. Each warrior represented years of training and modification. They had volunteered to become something beyond human to protect humanity. The process had been painful and dangerous. Not everyone survived it. You all know the risks, he said. We will be fighting inside enemy ships. The Reapers may have defenses we have not seen. Some of us may not come back. A warrior named Minho stepped forward. His body flickered slightly as if he was not completely solid. Sir, we knew the risks when we joined. We are ready to do what must be done. The others nodded. They had all made peace with the possibility of death long ago. Death was not the worst thing that could happen. Letting the galaxy burn was worse. Good, Jinwoo said. Then let us prepare for departure. The warriors moved to equipment stations around the chamber. They put on armor that looked like liquid metal. The armor flowed over their bodies and became part of them. It would protect them in the vacuum of space and inside alien machines. Jin checked her weapons. They were not guns or swords. They were devices that amplified what her mind could already do. With them, she could cut through any material or disable any computer system. The weapons worked by extending her consciousness into quantum space. I still remember being normal, she said quietly to Jinwoo. Sometimes I miss it. Do you regret the choice? He asked. No, she said quickly. But I wonder what we have become. Are we still human? Jinwoo considered this. It was a question they all asked themselves. Their bodies had been changed with genetic therapy and cybernetic implants. Their minds had been enhanced to process information faster than any computer. They could do things that seemed like magic. We fight for humanity, he said finally. As long as we remember why we fight, we remain human in the ways that matter. The transport ships waited in launch bays carved from solid rock. The ships looked wrong somehow. They had curves and angles that made the eye confused. Looking at them too long caused headaches. This was because they existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. As the warriors boarded their ships, alarms began to sound throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors. A voice spoke from the walls. Reaper fleet detected approaching the lunar colonies. Estimated arrival in 4 hours. All civilian ships are evacuating. Jinwoo sealed his helmet and felt the ship respond to his thoughts. The vessel's computer was connected directly to his brain. When he wanted to go somewhere, the ship knew without being told. All units, this is Commander Jinwoo, he said over the communication system. We launch in 60 seconds. Remember your training. Trust your abilities. Make the galaxy remember why they should be grateful for humanity. The launch bay doors opened. Beyond them was a tunnel that led straight up through the mountain. At the top, a portal flickered with blue energy. The portal would take them directly to space without anyone seeing them leave. One by one, the ships rose through the tunnel. They moved without engines or thrust. The warriors had learned to push against reality itself. Gravity was just another force to be ignored when necessary. As they emerged into space, the ships became completely invisible. Not just to sensors, but to normal sight as well. They existed in a layer of space-time that most beings could not perceive. Captain Nari piloted the lead ship. She could feel the location of every Reaper vessel across dozens of star systems. This was another gift of enhancement. Distance meant nothing when consciousness could touch any point in space. Enemy fleet detected, she announced. 17 Reaper ships heading for Luna City. 3 million people in immediate danger. Then we stop them, Jinwoo replied. All units prepare for dimensional insertion. We go in fast and hard. The warrior ships accelerated beyond the speed of light, but they did not use normal faster-than-light travel. Instead, they stepped sideways through reality, taking shortcuts through spaces that did not exist for normal matter. Behind them, Earth grew smaller in the distance. Ahead, the ancient enemy waited. The Reapers had destroyed countless civilizations over millions of years. They had never faced anything like Earth's enhanced warriors. The battle that would change the galaxy was about to begin. In the darkness between stars, impossible soldiers prepared to do impossible things. The sleeping giants had awakened, and the universe would never be the same. On Earth, in facilities hidden around the world, more warriors waited for their turn. If the first wave failed, there would be others. Humanity had spent 200 years preparing for this moment. The galaxy had always feared humans for their unpredictability and their refusal to accept defeat. Now they would learn the true reason for that fear. Humanity had not just reached for the stars. They had reached beyond the possible itself. Admiral Yansu stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching death approach. The Reaper fleet moved through space like black knives cutting through silk. 17 enemy ships headed straight for Luna City, where 3 million people waited for evacuation. All ships prepare for final stand, she ordered. Her voice was steady, but inside she felt the cold touch of defeat. The combined galactic fleet had already lost so many battles. This would probably be their last. The bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. Officers from 6 different species operated weapons and shields that had proven useless against the enemy. But they had to try. Behind them, civilian ships fled toward the outer planets. Incoming transmission from the Reaper fleet, reported Lieutenant Commander Kang Min. He was one of the few humans serving with the galactic forces. Put it through, Admiral Yansu said. The main screen filled with static, then cleared to show something that made everyone step back. The image was not exactly a face, but it suggested intelligence older than their solar system. When it spoke, the words came directly into their minds. Biological entities, you will be processed. Resistance extends suffering unnecessarily. Submit to cleansing. The transmission ended. Admiral Yansu felt a chill run through her crew. The Reapers had never spoken to anyone before. The fact that they bothered to communicate meant they saw this as the final battle. All weapons target the lead Reaper ship, she commanded. Fire everything we have. The galactic fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts, quantum torpedoes, and gravity bombs filled space with deadly light. The weapons struck the Reaper ships and simply vanished. The ancient vessels continued forward without even slowing down. Shields up. Brace for impact, shouted the tactical officer. But then something impossible happened. Space itself began to shimmer around the Reaper fleet. The shimmer spread like ripples on water, but these ripples moved through dimensions that had no names. What is that? Whispered Dr. Minjae, the fleet's science officer. His instruments were showing readings that made no sense. Before anyone could answer, figures began to appear inside the Reaper ships. The enemy vessels had no windows, but somehow the fleet's sensors could see through their hulls. Humanoid shapes moved through the corridors of the ancient machines. How did they get inside? Admiral Yansu demanded. Our transporters cannot penetrate Reaper shields. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Kang Min said slowly. I don't think they use transporters. On the screen, they watched a human figure walk through a solid metal wall as if it was made of air. The figure wore black armor that seemed to absorb light. When he moved, small sparks of energy followed in his wake. That's impossible, Dr. Minjae said. Matter cannot pass through matter without massive energy expenditure. Another human appeared on the screen. This one was smaller, definitely female. She placed her hand on a Reaper control panel and the entire section of the ship went dark. Lights that had burned for 1,000,000 years simply died at her touch. What are we seeing? Admiral Yansu asked the air. She was not sure she wanted an answer. More humans appeared throughout the Reaper fleet. They moved like ghosts through the ancient ships. When Reaper defense systems activated, the humans simply ignored them. Energy beams passed through their bodies without effect. Physical barriers meant nothing to them. Specialist Minho appeared directly in the center of a Reaper processing chamber. The room was filled with machines designed to break down organic matter into raw materials. When the machines tried to grab him, his body became translucent and they passed right through. He reached out with one hand and touched the central processor. Light exploded from the contact point. The entire chamber began to shut down. Ancient technology that had operated perfectly for millennia suddenly failed. "This is impossible," Dr. Minjay repeated. He was a scientist who believed in facts and logic. What he was seeing broke every law of physics he knew. Corporal Yunji moved through the engineering section of another Reaper ship. The enemy machines tried to stop her with energy weapons that could vaporize a battleship. The beams struck her armor and simply disappeared, as if they were absorbed into another dimension. She walked up to the main power core, a device the size of a building that generated energy by manipulating black holes. Without any tools or weapons, she placed both hands on its surface. The power core began to crack. "The Reaper ships are losing power," reported the tactical officer. His voice was full of amazement and fear. Admiral Yansu watched the impossible battle unfold. The humans moved through the enemy ships like they owned them. They understood technology that was millions of years old. They survived in environments that should have killed any biological entity instantly. "Get me a communication channel to Earth Command," she ordered. "Channel open." "Admiral? This is Admiral Yansu to Earth Command. What are those things you sent us?" The reply came from Admiral Yuki, her voice calm and professional. "Those are enhanced warriors from the Shadow Battalion. They have been training for this kind of mission for many years." "Training how? What did you do to them?" "We helped them become what humanity needed them to be." On the main screen, Commander Jin Woo appeared in the command center of the lead Reaper ship. The chamber was vast and filled with technology that looked like living metal. Ancient computer systems processed information faster than entire planets could think. Jin Woo walked directly to the central command throne. It was a seat designed for beings that had ruled the galaxy, when the current civilizations were still primitive animals. Without hesitation, he sat down. The moment he touched the controls, every system in the Reaper fleet began to respond to his commands. Lights changed color. Weapons powered down. Navigation systems locked onto new coordinates. "He's controlling them," Dr. Minjay said in wonder. "A human is controlling Reaper technology." "How is that possible?" demanded General Caxelon, an alien officer whose people were famous for their technical skills. "Reaper systems are quantum encrypted with algorithms we cannot even understand." "Maybe understanding is not required," Admiral Yansu said quietly. "Maybe they are doing something else entirely." Lieutenant He-jin appeared on another screen. She stood in a room filled with what looked like crystalline trees. These were the Reaper memory banks, storing information from 1,000,000 years of galactic history. She reached out and touched one of the crystals. Suddenly, she knew everything the Reapers knew, the locations of every advanced civilization in the galaxy, the history of previous harvests, the true purpose behind the ancient machines. The knowledge flowed into her mind like water into a cup. But instead of being overwhelmed, she began to change the information. Her consciousness moved through the Reaper databases like a virus, rewriting their basic programming. She was teaching the machines new values, new purposes. "The Reaper fleet is changing course," announced the navigation officer. "They are moving away from Luna City." "All ships hold fire," Admiral Yansu ordered. She was not sure what was happening, but shooting at the Reapers while humans were inside them seemed like a bad idea. One by one, the ancient ships began to shut down. Not destroyed, but deliberately powered off. The humans inside them had found the master controls and simply turned them off like old computers. The largest Reaper ship, a vessel the size of a small moon, began to crack apart. But it was not exploding. Instead, it was coming apart in perfect geometric pieces, as if someone was taking it apart one component at a time. Specialist Minho stood in the center of the destruction, his hands glowing with energy that seemed to come from another dimension. He was not just disabling the ship. He was teaching it to disassemble itself. "Admiral," Dr. Minjay said, his voice shaking. "The energy readings from those humans, they are off the scale. They are generating power levels that should be impossible for organic beings." "Maybe they are not entirely organic anymore," Admiral Yansu replied. The last Reaper ship went dark. Across the fleet, the ancient enemies that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years had been defeated by a handful of enhanced humans. It had taken less than an hour. Commander Jin Woo appeared on the communication screen. His face looked normal, but his eyes held depths that seemed to go on forever. When he spoke, His voice carried harmonics that made everyone listening feel calm and safe. "This is Commander Jinwoo to the Galactic Fleet. The immediate threat has been neutralized. The Reapers in this system are no longer operational." "Commander," Admiral Yansu said carefully, "what exactly did you do to them?" "We convinced them that their programming was outdated. They have been given new instructions." "What kind of instructions?" "To sleep again. This time they will not wake up." The bridge crew looked at each other in amazement and fear. The humans had not just defeated the Reapers. They had reprogrammed ancient machines that were supposedly impossible to understand. "There are more Reaper fleets in other systems," Admiral Yansu said. "We know," Jinwoo replied. "My people are already dealing with them. The threat will be over soon." The communication ended. Admiral Yansu stared at the dark Reaper ships floating in space like dead giants. The war that had seemed hopeless was suddenly winnable, but now she had new questions. What had humanity become? And should the galaxy be grateful or terrified? Looking at the impossible warriors who had just saved millions of lives, she was not sure there was a difference. Dr. Junho stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council. The massive chamber buzzed with angry voices in dozens of languages. 3 days had passed since the impossible victory over the Reapers, and now everyone wanted answers. Behind him, screens showed images from the battles. Human warriors walking through solid walls, ancient machines shutting down at a touch, technology that had survived for millions of years crumbling like sand. The alien leaders had watched these recordings hundreds of times, but they still could not believe them. Dr. Junho, Chancellor Vextar, said, his reptilian voice sharp with suspicion, "You will explain what we witnessed. No more riddles. No more secrets. What has humanity done?" The Korean scientist looked calm despite the hostile crowd. He had expected this moment for years. The truth would come out eventually. It always did. "What you saw," he began, "was the result of 200 years of preparation. Ever since humanity first learned we were not alone in the galaxy, we have been getting ready for threats that conventional weapons could not handle." "What kind of preparation?" demanded Princess Zelma. Her crystal body glowed with agitation. "We learned to change ourselves," Dr. Junho said simply. "We discovered that consciousness is not just awareness. It is a tool that can manipulate reality at the quantum level." The hall erupted in disbelief. Aliens shouted questions and accusations. Some called it impossible. Others called it heresy. General Korth's stone fist cracked his table when he hit it. "Consciousness cannot affect matter." Dr. Veltar, the galaxy's leading physicist, stood up. "The interaction between mind and quantum fields is minimal. One thought cannot move even a single atom. One normal thought, no," Dr. Junho agreed. "But what if the mind was enhanced? What if consciousness itself was amplified and focused through quantum-entangled neural networks?" He activated a holographic display. The image showed a human brain, but it was unlike any brain the aliens had seen. Silver threads ran through the neural tissue. Crystalline structures were embedded in the cortex. The entire organ pulsed with soft light. "This is the brain of an enhanced warrior," Dr. Junho explained. "The silver threads are quantum processors grown from organic materials. The crystals focus mental energy into coherent quantum fields. The warrior can literally think reality into new shapes." "That is insane," whispered Commander Zen. His void-walking people were known for their strange abilities, but this was beyond anything they had achieved, is it? Dr. Junho asked. "Your own species can move through dimensions that normal matter cannot reach. You accept that as natural. Why is it harder to believe that we learned to move through the dimensions of possibility itself?" Director Wu Jin stepped forward from the human delegation. He was older than Dr. Junho, with gray hair and eyes that seemed to see too much. When he spoke, even the loudest aliens grew quiet. "The enhancement process takes 5 years," he said. "First, we map the volunteer's entire neural structure. Every thought pattern, every memory, every dream. Then we begin the modifications." "What modifications?" Dr. Veltar demanded. "Genetic therapy to increase neural density, cybernetic implants to amplify brain activity, quantum entanglement procedures to connect the mind to the universe's underlying structure. By the end, the volunteer can perceive and manipulate 17 different dimensions of spacetime." The aliens stared in horrified fascination. Some made religious gestures. Others backed away from the human delegation as if they carried a disease. "You are describing gods," Princess Zelma said quietly. "No," Director Wu Jin replied. "We are describing what humans chose to become to protect everyone else." Every warrior volunteered. Every one of them knew they would be changed forever. Chancellor Taehyun, Earth's true military leader, had remained silent until now. He was a tall man with scars on his hands and the bearing of someone who had made difficult decisions for many years. When he stood, the entire chamber focused on him. "You want to know the truth?" he said. "The truth is that we saw this coming. Not the Reapers specifically, but something like them. The galaxy has too many ancient ruins, too many missing civilizations. Something has been pruning intelligent life for millions of years." "So you decided to become monsters?" accused General Korth. "We decided to become whatever was necessary," Chancellor Taehyun replied without anger. "While you built bigger guns, we built better soldiers. While you created stronger ships, we created warriors who do not need ships." Commander Subin materialized in the center of the chamber. She had not been there a moment before. One instant the floor was empty. The next instant she stood among the alien delegates. Several representatives cried out in fear. "How did you get in here?" Chancellor Vextar demanded. "This chamber is shielded against all forms of teleportation." "I did not teleport," Subin said calmly. "I convinced space that I was already here. Reality agreed with me." She raised her hand and a small sphere of light appeared above her palm. The light was warm and comforting, but it also felt infinitely deep, as if it contained entire universes. "This is thought made manifest," she explained. "I am imagining light and the universe responds by creating it. The enhanced warriors do not break the laws of physics. We have learned to speak to those laws directly." Dr. Veltar pulled out his scanning devices. The readings made him step back in shock. "The energy signature? It is reading as pure consciousness. That should not be possible." "Many things should not be possible," Subin agreed. "But the universe is stranger than most people imagine. Consciousness is not separate from reality. It is part of the same quantum field that creates matter and energy." She gestured and the lights in the chamber dimmed. But instead of darkness, a soft glow emanated from every enhanced human present. Their bodies were generating light through sheer mental focus. "We can exist in multiple locations simultaneously," Subin continued. "We can survive in the vacuum of space by convincing ourselves that they do not need oxygen. We can interface with any technology by thinking ourselves into its quantum structure." "What are the limits?" asked Dr. Sora, the Korean xenobiologist. She was fascinated despite her fear. "We do not know yet," Subin admitted. "Each warrior discovers new capabilities over time. Some can see possible futures. Others can communicate across galaxies instantly. A few have learned to exist outside of time itself." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had not just gained powerful weapons. They had evolved into something beyond current understanding. "How many of these warriors do you have?" Princess Zelma asked. "Enough," Chancellor Taehyun said. "We have been recruiting and training for 2 centuries. Every major nation on Earth contributes volunteers. We currently have active warriors in 47 different dimensions." 47 dimensions? Dr. Veltar's voice cracked. "There are only 11 known dimensions." "There are at least 63, Dr. Junho corrected. "We have mapped them all. Some of our warriors are stationed in places that exist outside normal spacetime, watching for threats that conventional sensors could never detect." Ambassador Taemin stepped forward. "You asked for the truth. Here it is. The Reapers were not our greatest challenge. They were our practice exercise. We have been preparing for much larger threats." "What threats?" General Korth demanded. "Entities that exist in the spaces between galaxies, civilizations that have ascended to pure energy, and see matter-based life as an infection. Machines that consume reality itself and leave nothing behind. The Reapers were dangerous to normal life, but they were still bound by physical laws. Our real enemies will not be so limited." The alien delegates looked at each other with growing alarm. They had thought the Reapers were the worst possible threat. Now they learned that humanity was preparing for things even more dangerous. "Why did you not tell us?" Chancellor Vextar asked. "Why hide this?" "Because most civilizations cannot handle the truth," Director Wu Jin said. "When species learn that consciousness can manipulate reality, they often destroy themselves trying to gain those powers. We have seen it happen 17 times in our own galaxy. But the enhancement process requires a very specific type of mind," Dr. Junho added.
"Humans have an unusual relationship with impossibility.
We believe in things that should not work, and sometimes that belief makes them work. Other species think too logically to achieve the same results." Commander Subin smiled, and for a moment her form became translucent. Through her they could see other versions of herself standing in the same spot, all slightly different, all equally real. "We are still learning what we can become," she said, "but we promise you this. As long as threats exist that would destroy innocent life, Earth's warriors will stand against them." The display screens around the chamber lit up with new images. Enhanced warriors standing on alien worlds protecting colonies from dangers the colonists never even knew existed. Shadow Battalion members moving through dimensions that had no names, hunting entities that fed on entire star systems. "This is what we do," Chancellor Taehyun said. "While you build your civilizations and explore your galaxies, we watch the darkness beyond. We fight the battles that cannot be won with normal weapons." The chamber was quiet for a long time. Finally, Princess Zelma spoke. 6 months after the Reaper War ended, President Kyung-soo stood before the largest gathering in galactic history. Representatives from over 300 species filled the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime. The air hummed with translation devices working in dozens of languages. The galaxy had changed. News of Earth's enhanced warriors had spread to every civilized world. Some species begged for the enhancement technology. Others demanded restrictions on human power. A few had tried to develop their own consciousness-based weapons, with disastrous results. "My fellow sentients," President Kyung-soo began, his voice carried to every corner of the hall by quantum transmitters. "We gathered today to discuss humanity's place in our shared future." Colonel Hwa-young stood near the human delegation. She had been one of the first enhanced warriors to return from the war. Her armor was different now, silver instead of black, marking her new role as a peacekeeper rather than a weapon. Around her, she could feel the emotions of thousands of beings: fear, hope, curiosity, anger. All of it flowed through her consciousness like a river of thought. This was another gift of enhancement, the ability to sense the feelings of others across vast distances. "The question before us," President Kyung-soo continued, "is simple. How do we move forward together when one species possesses capabilities that others cannot match?" Chancellor Vexistar stood up, his reptilian form towering over nearby delegates. "The question is whether we can trust you. Your warriors can appear anywhere, do anything, become anything. How do we know you will not use these powers against us?" Ambassador Ji-hoon stepped forward from the human section. He was younger than the other diplomats, chosen specifically because he represented the new generation of humanity. "Because we have had these powers for 200 years and have never used them for conquest. You hid them," accused General Korth. "How can we trust people who lie about their true nature?" "We protected you," Colonel Hwa-young said quietly. Her voice was soft, but everyone in the hall heard it clearly. "Do you know what happened to the Zephyrian Empire when they learned about consciousness manipulation?" The hall grew silent. The Zephyrians had been a proud, advanced species known for their achievements in quantum science. Their empire had covered 12 star systems. They tried to enhance their own people, Hwa-young continued, without proper preparation, without understanding the risks. 80% of their population went insane. The rest destroyed their own worlds rather than live with what they had become. Dr. Dayoon activated a holographic display. The images showed the ruins of Zephyrian worlds. Beautiful cities turned to glass. Oceans boiled away. Entire planets cracked like eggs. "This is what happens when consciousness enhancement goes wrong," she explained. "The mind gains power over reality, but loses connection with sanity. We hid our capabilities to protect other species from attempting something that would destroy them." Princess Zelma's crystal body dimmed with sadness. "We remember the Zephyrians. They were our trading partners for 3,000 years. One day their communications simply stopped. We tried to help them," President Kyung-soo said. "Our warriors arrived within hours of the first distress signals. But it was too late. They had already lost control of their enhanced individuals. We could only watch as their civilization ended." A new voice spoke from the gallery. "Then teach us the right way." Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Representative Kilhan of the Aquatic Alliance, a species known for their wisdom and caution. "If consciousness enhancement is possible," Kilhan continued, "but dangerous without proper guidance, then guide us." "Share your knowledge safely," Dr. Dayoon nodded. "We have been considering this. Limited enhancement programs might be possible for certain species. Not full warrior-level abilities, but basic consciousness matter interaction training." "What would that involve?" asked Commander Zen. Mental discipline exercises, basic quantum field awareness, simple reality manipulation techniques. Nothing that could cause the kind of damage the Zephyrians suffered, but enough to help species defend themselves against consciousness-based threats. President Kyung-soo gestured, and new displays lit up around the chamber. They showed training facilities on various worlds, staffed by enhanced humans working with alien volunteers. We propose the creation of the Enhanced Guardian Corps, he announced, a joint galactic organization dedicated to protecting all civilized life from threats that normal weapons cannot handle. Who would control this organization? Chancellor Vextar demanded. No one species, Ambassador Ji-hoon replied. The Corps would be governed by a council with representatives from every major civilization. Humans would provide the training and advanced capabilities, but decisions would be made collectively. Colonel Hua Young stepped into the center of the hall. As she did, her form became translucent, showing the assembled delegates that she existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We are offering to share what we have learned, she said. Not our full abilities, those require changes that most species cannot survive, but enough knowledge to help you defend yourselves and understand what we do. What about oversight? Asked Dr. Veltar. How do we monitor beings who can exist outside normal space-time? We monitor ourselves, Hua Young replied. Every enhanced warrior is connected to the others through quantum-entangled consciousness networks. If one of us becomes unstable or hostile, the rest know immediately. She gestured, and suddenly a dozen other enhanced humans appeared in the hall. They had not walked in or teleported. They had simply chosen to become visible. Some of the alien delegates gasped in surprise. We are never truly alone, explained Captain Minsu, one of the newly appeared warriors. Our thoughts and actions are known to our fellow warriors across the galaxy. This prevents any single individual from becoming a threat. It also means, added Lieutenant Yun Jae, that we feel the pain of every innocent being who suffers. When the Reapers killed civilians, we felt each death. This is why we fight so hard to protect life. President Kyung-soo watched the faces of the alien delegates. He could see them struggling with concepts that challenged everything they thought they knew about power and responsibility. The Enhanced Guardian Corps would work like this, he explained. Human warriors would handle threats that require full enhancement capabilities. Mixed teams would deal with dangers that partially enhanced allies could help with. Normal galactic forces would continue to handle conventional threats. And Earth? Princess Zelma asked. What role would your homeworld play? Earth would remain the primary training center and research facility, Dr. Daun said. But we would establish secondary facilities on allied worlds. The knowledge would be shared, not hoarded. A new alarm began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed as emergency broadcasts filled the air. On the main display, long-range sensors showed something approaching from the galactic rim. Multiple objects detected, announced the station's AI. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures exceed all known parameters. The alien delegates began to panic. They had just survived one ancient threat. Now something new was coming, but the enhanced humans remained calm. Colonel Hua Young closed her eyes and extended her consciousness across space. Her awareness touched the approaching objects and immediately understood what they were. Void devourers, she said quietly. Entities that exist in the empty spaces between galaxies. They consume matter and energy to fuel their journey to the next galaxy. Can they be stopped? Chancellor Vextar asked. Yes, Hua Young replied. But not by conventional weapons. They exist partially outside normal spacetime. Only consciousness-based techniques can affect them. President Kyung-soo turned to address the assembly. Representatives of the galaxy, you see our situation. New threats arrive even as we debate old ones. We can face them separately and likely fail, or we can face them together and prevail. What do you propose? Asked General Korth. Accept the Enhanced Guardian Corps. Allow us to begin limited training programs immediately. In return, humanity commits to using our full capabilities only for defense, never for conquest. The voting process took 3 hours. Species after species cast their ballots. Some voted yes immediately. Others debated among themselves before deciding. A few abstained, saying they needed more time to consider. When the final vote was counted, the result was overwhelming. 273 species voted in favor. Only 19 voted against. 8 abstained. The motion passes, announced the session moderator. The Enhanced Guardian Corps is hereby established. Colonel Hua Young and her fellow warriors began to fade from visibility. They were already moving to intercept the Void Devourers before the entities could reach inhabited systems. "Where are they going?" asked Representative Kilhan. "To do what they have always done," President Kyungsoo replied. "Protect life from threats that others cannot even perceive." In the days that followed, training centers opened on 50 worlds. Volunteers from dozens of species began learning basic consciousness techniques. The programs were limited and carefully monitored, but they gave allied species their first taste of what human warriors experienced every day. Meanwhile, far from any star, enhanced warriors engaged the Void Devourers in a battle fought across multiple dimensions.